I think that we can start. The aim of this webinar is exactly focusing on the site's description as well as the KPIs and KVIs framework. This is the agenda. So just after a short introduction, we will go in detail for different TrialsNet clusters, describing the infrastructure and functionalities, and we will provide also an overview of the KPIs and KVIs framework. And then we will have almost 25 minutes for question and answers. Hear me? We can provide some information about about the question and answer.
Yes, we lost you for a couple of seconds, so we are still seeing the agenda slide.
Yeah, okay. Okay, this is the agenda slide, and I pass through the web information one.
No, we are still on the agenda.
Okay.
We're seeing your PowerPoint basically.
Yeah. What about now?
Yes. So
okay.
This is my name is Marco Ramagna from UC3M. I'm also involved in TrialsNet as architecture work package leader. So this is just to quickly tell you how to interact with us. So at the end of the presentation, we will check who has a question. And if you want to ask a question, you need to raise your hand with the button there. And after that, you have two options. You can either share your audio and ask your question directly by voice, or you can type and ask your question in the chat. We'll read it and then answer it in a FIFO way. So first in, first out. So yes, these are the very easy rules for interacting with us. So Alex, you can keep going with the technical presentation.
Thank you, Marco. So before starting the description of different sites, I just collected here some few slides for a recap on the technical highlights of the project. These are, I would say, information that were already provided in the first webinar. So I would like to save some times exactly to go more in the site description. As you know, TrialsNet has quite clear objective in developing large-scale trials in 3 different domains. And to achieve that objectives, we defined a specific methodology that you see summarized here. Again, I don't go to the detail of this slide because it was already present in the first webinar. About the open call, you are quite aware about the fact that, let's say, applicants can contribute according to these 2 options. I would say that this webinar is more related to option 1 because it's going exactly in the direction to describe the TrialsNet infrastructure on which the new use case can run on top of. There are some points that should be taken into consideration while let's say, providing your proposal for the open call. And this slide is in some way summarizing the main points that will be really useful to be taken into account for the application, as well as the fact that, of course, we will, from the project perspective, we will expect some results from the trials performed through your use cases, additional use cases that are going for sure in the direction to apply the methodology of the project in order to be quite consistent with our activity. Of course, there should be the necessity to document very well the use case and trials that will be performed. and at the same level to collect KPIs and KVIs, really to showcase the results of the trial activity. How this data will be provided towards the project is anyway something that will be discussed once the proposal will be accepted. I think that, again, we are quite in time according to the schedule, so I would like to pass, let's say, the word to Mauro Agus, that is actually the site manager for the Turin site.
Hello everybody, I'm Mauro Agus, the Turin site manager, and this is a very quick presentation just to summarize what we have in place to host use cases. The network type of the Torino cluster is a commercial network, so it's wide coverage, non-standalone release 15. The spectrum, the available spectrum is 80 megahertz in the 3.7 gig spectrum. So we have the full, almost the full urban area covered, and the local performances should be verified exactly in the place where we execute the use cases, but basically the urban area is fully covered. The functionalities that we can offer is the private APN active on the commercial network, and cloud to host the use cases, where is possible to measure also the KPIs according to the implementation. The performances that we can the average performances that we can offer is 500 megabit per second in downlink and almost 150 megabit in uplink, with the average round trip time of 25 milliseconds. This is a schematic about the Torino cluster. So you can see the 5G coverage, the wide 5G coverage with the devices that can access both the public APN and the private APN. If you access the public APN, you can reach a vertical application that is exposed on the internet, or if you use the private APN, you can reach the two labs, where is the NFV cloud and the TLab lab, that is the team lab, sorry, where is hosted some computational devices, and all the transport is guaranteed by dark fiber or transport network, so the performances can be achieved. The NFV, sorry, cloud platform that is running on the Politecnico di Torino is composed by right now by 4 servers with these performances that you can read here, and this is carrier grade connected, and is possible to monitor also the KPIs. So it's based on OpenStack with the Kubernetes also container-based services. The user devices that is possible to use is all the NSA commercial network can host. So commercial smartphones, CPEs, industrial modem, routers, and so on. The project cannot provide directly the devices, but the applicant can bring what is needed for their proposal. The network access need obviously a SIM card by team. Also, the project cannot provide this SIM card, but it's possible to subscribe and to enable such SIM cards to the private IPN just during the execution. For the availability, The infrastructure can be available 24/7 due to the coverage, the commercial coverage, and also the hosting is 24/7 available. Just should be evaluated the resources that are required, just because the resources are obviously limited. The SIM card also can access to the public internet via commercial APN, and the backend where the NFV is running can also access the internet as a proxy. Also, the duration of the trials can be agreed with the owners and the site manager. That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay. So we can start the description of PISA site, and this is okay. Alessandro?
Yes.
I don't see the slide. Okay, thank you. The location is in Pisa, in the CNR campus, that is a National Research Center campus, where there is the hospital and the Ericsson site, and the network type is private, and very important to say that the infrastructure is set by scratch, so we are setting down and is not on field yet, and the network deployment will be private in order to have the possibility to consider a dedicated spectrum. Release 16 will and is based on 26 GHz in millimeter wave. The radio system natively support 3GPP release 16, and from Q3 2024, this is a mistake, 3GPP release 17 will be available. Regarding the network coverage is private 5G SA as in indoor area with the coverage provided by indoor antenna in a dedicated room, and there is also in addition outdoor area that is covered by outdoor antenna in a dedicated part of the campus parking that will be dedicated for the ambulance. So summary, we have Edge 5G standalone network functionality with the local OPF functionality in Pisa starting from early 2024, and the slicing will be MBB. As I said, we are defining also this part in the sense that the infrastructure is not in place yet, and so in principle we have the MBB, and we are discussing case we have a second slicing. OPF is delivering a packet code. Previous slide. OPF is delivering a packet core gateway that fulfill the function regarding 3GPP OPF and not 3GPP CGNAT firewall multi-service proxy. This is a sketch of the infrastructure where, as you see, we have this following site. We have in Pisa for the use case in the ambulance, and the use case indoor, and then also in the other use case that is indoor, and as I said, in Pisa we have all the radio part, the baseband and the OPF, while there is connected for the data plane to the Massa site hospital for Massa site hospital, and then the core network will be located in Turin sign in the team site. Regarding our component, you see here the details, and also the use case device that will be used are shown in this picture. Okay, the platform regarding the compute infrastructure, regarding the compute servers, the LPG will be based on Dell EMC PowerEdge R640. This general purpose rack mount server will be equipped with 2 CPU based on Intel Xeon scalable processor, and we have one rack unit that include this type of devices. Then we have also the virtualization platform that offers support to deploy the virtual machine and containers on top of the infrastructure, and CI as a service user K3AS, and as a host we have a SUSE Enterprise Linux host operating system. Like user device for the experimentation, we use 3CP TMC 889A standalone, clearly compatible with the Spectrum 26 GHz. And we have a ZTE 5G outdoor Wi-Fi router, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port, IP65 dust-proof and waterproof, Qualcomm SDX62 chipset, and as we said, the support of millimeter 5G frequency. And but this is the available device, but for the appliance, the device will be provided by the appliance, but must be compatible with these characteristics. Regarding infrastructure availability, I said initially the network will be set from scratch and is not fully set yet, specifically for the e-health experiment use case 7, 8, and 9. So means that it's not possible to support other experiments in case they require specific configuration that differ from the configuration that will done for these use cases. The site is in a hospital, and so means that any access to the infrastructure will be subject to verification that consider aspect security, ethical aspect, and moreover to integrate and test the use case proposed by open calls applicants. It's important to have a agreed plan in advance, coordination that allow to have availability of the several part of the infrastructure in the site and in the access requirement. As finally, no real patient will be involved because it will be too burdensome from administrative point of view in terms of privacy, security, and ethics problem. And at the end, the involvement of the real patient would not adding added value in the experimentation. So thanks. This concludes the presentation.
Good morning, everybody. This is Aruna Premianzino from Carlos III de Madrid University, and I'm the site manager of Madrid, and I will describe it to you today. If you can go to the next slide, Alessandro. Okay, so as an overview of the site is located in Leganés, which is in the south of Madrid, and is hosted by the 5 Tonic Labs in the AMDA network facilities. This is an experimental network and is composed by the coverage of 3 different areas, plus a mobile solution, which grants access network and user plane functionalities, and which can be moved depending on the needs of the use case to specific areas, but still in the nearby in the Madrid area. The network is based on the release 16 and uses the mid-band, specifically 3.5 GHz. So there is an indoor area and an outdoor area, and which are served by an antenna each one. And there is also a lab area, which is indoor as well, and is covered by dot antennas. The site offers the possibility to measure different KPIs through probes, which are deployed in the network. And to have an idea of the performance, the average throughput downlink is 700 megabit per second, and the uplink is 150 megabit per second, while the average round trip time is below 20 milliseconds. This is a graphical view of the different areas which are covered. You can see circled in blue the outdoor area, which includes a basketball court and a parking lot. And you can see in the blue star the relative antenna, the corresponding antenna. While in red, there is this indoor area, which is a X3 room with its antenna. And while in green, you can see the different lab areas, which are covered by 3 different dot antennas. The portable system is not depicted because it's not connected to a specific area. This is for what concerns the architecture of the different covered areas. The same architecture is shared by the outdoor basketball court and the indoor X3 room, with a radio and antenna, a baseband, and a router and GPS receiver. While for the lab coverage, which is indoor, the antennas are .MIMO antennas, and there is a 5G indoor radio unit, while the baseband, router, and GPS devices are the same. And finally, the portable system is a non-public network, which is connected through IPsec connectivity with the rest of the network, and provides radio access network and user plugin functionalities. And this is in a flight case, so that can be moved. So this is the setup to see how the different areas are interconnected with each other. The user device can be connected to mini PCs, which provide also 5G connectivity, if not in the end device itself, and includes the probes to measure the performance of the network. And then you can see that the areas are connected to each other through the core room. And also this core part of the network offer connectivity to internet to reach outside services, which can be hosted by third parties. So for what concerns the platform, as said before, the network offers internet connectivity to reach external services, like, for instance, AWS. But in the case that you use outside services, for instance, for hosting a server or specific services, the performance cannot be assured, because we can only assure the performance inside our network. And also, the same is true for the security. So if your use case uses services from outside third parties, the security of that connection and of that service will be provided by the provider itself. For what concerns the devices that can be used in the site is not providing the devices, and the network has been designed as a data-centric network and not a device-centric network. This means that has been designed keeping into account customer device equipment, like, for instance, 5G industrial routers, while if you intend to use user equipment, you may experience some problem. So just to keep it in mind in the case. And for what concerns the devices, they need to be able to host a SIM card, which can be provided by the Phitonic lab. And the devices need to have 5G standalone connectivities, of course. For what concerns the availability of the infrastructure, in general, we ask for 1 month notice to set up the trial, and the expected duration of the testing is about 1 week, and the infrastructure will be provided in that week in the same way as a commercial network would, with monitoring and supporting, but not in a continuous way. And finally, we saw that there are some probes deployed in the network, and they help us to measure the performances in the network. And this is a list of what can be measured right now through the probes which are deployed, and which includes user experience data rate, network data rate, latency, jitter, network availability, network reliability, packet loss rate, and packet ordering. And
Okay.
I give the
Yeah, hello everyone. Here is Răzvan Mihai from Orange, Romania, and I'm one of the site owners of the Romanian cluster. Okay, so let's start with the overview. So for this open call, we are targeting actually 2 locations from Romania. So we have Iași, where we are actually deploying the use cases from the project, and we also have Bucharest. In terms of the network types, we have both commercial and private deployments. The commercial deployment is NSA release 15, and the private one is standalone release 16. Both of the deployments are using the same spectrum of 100 megahertz in the N78 band, so in the 3.5 gigahertz frequency. For the commercial network, we have complete coverage in Iași and Bucharest. While for the private network, we have indoor coverage in our 2 5G labs. So we have 2 5G labs, one in Bucharest, in the, let's say, Polytechnic University area, where we have 2 cells, one of them being in an anechoic chamber, so can be used for, let's say, deep down testing for performance if needed. And we also have a 5G lab in Iași, where we have another cell. We will extend this network coverage for the private network outdoor, starting from late 2024, in the 2 areas dedicated to our use cases. So basically in the Ștefan cel Mare pedestrian alley from Iași, for which you can see the coverage in the top picture, and also for the Poduroș intersection from Iași, with another 3 sectors, for which you can see the coverage in the picture below. Okay, I think that we can, okay. In terms of the functionality, so for the commercial network, we have already developed a private APN that could connect to our 5G lab edge computing infrastructure that I will describe a little bit further down the presentation. This private APN also have connectivity to internet, so you don't need multiple SIM cards for that to work. For the private standalone network, we have, so we will have, starting from early 2024, in Iași 5G UPF, so for the local breakout functionality from 5G standalone. In terms of the edge computing, we have that in place in Bucharest already, and again, starting from early 2024, we'll have that also in Iași. In terms of the slicing functionalities, we implement 2 slices, both eMBB and URLLC, so high throughput and also low latency and high resiliency. In terms of the orchestration platform, so we have actually an onboarding platform for applications from which you can select, let's say, the compute resources that you need, and you can also configure and deploy slices and also provision users based on these created slices. We also have capabilities to monitor the infrastructure, so you can monitor the KPIs coming from the network and also from the compute infrastructure. And finally, we have, let's say, a special transport network design for the laboratory, which is designed in the IP fabric, let's say, topology and concept, which can be, let's say, automated and can be, let's say, connected to the 5G network in order to create some high-level scenarios for this type of applications. In terms of the performances, so for the commercial network, which is non-standalone, you can expect around 1.5 gigabits per second for downlink and about 100 megabits per second for uplink. In terms of the latency, we have here less than 20 milliseconds end-to-end latency. And for the private standalone network, for the 2 slices, for the eMBB one, we have, let's say, similar capabilities to our commercial network in terms of throughput. The latency is less than 12 milliseconds end-to-end. While for the URLLC slice, we are applying data cap, let's say. This slice can only reach 40 megabits per second, both for uplink and downlink, with great latency of 8 milliseconds end-to-end. Okay, so maybe we can change the slide. Okay, so this is the, let's say, high-level architecture of the of our test beds. Let's say we are implementing VXLAN type of topology. So the two test beds are, let's say, basically in the same umbrella. So you can access both infrastructure like you would be in the same test bed. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. In terms of the edge compute infrastructure, we have, let's say, a powerful fleet of compute servers. We have around 20 compute servers with great performances, over 200 CPU cores, and I think a couple of terabytes of RAM. So there's a lot of performance, and this can accommodate the most demanding applications. Two of the servers are also fitted with GPUs. And on top of this compute infrastructure, we have three virtualization platforms. So we have an OpenStack cluster, a VMware ESXi cluster, and also a Kubernetes cluster. So we can accommodate both virtual machines and containers for your applications. To access securely these resources, we can give you access to our VPN infrastructure. We can give you the credentials and the VPN client in order for you to be able to access the VMs or the containers that we are creating for you. For the interconnection of third parties compute infrastructures to Oros 5G Lab testbeds, we can do that through using IPsec VPNs for site-to-site connectivity. And this option is available for private infrastructures as well as for cloud infrastructures. For private infrastructures, I may add that you need to have, let's say, compliant networking equipment that lets you create this type of IPsec tunnels. Okay, in terms of the devices, we are giving for free devices for experimentation. So we have the full range of devices available. So we have evaluation boards for 5G and modems. We have CPEs that are more commercial. We also have industrial routers. So from a lot of vendors, we have Teltonika, Siemens, Cradlepoint, and so on. We also have 5G phones, and we have 5G camera available for both 5G NSA and SA. For the devices that are provided by the applicants, we will provide them for free SIM cards that they can access both the public or private APNs. And we can also, let's say, provide the SIM cards to access the private 5G standalone network that can be provisioned with EMBB or URLLC slices, or there is the possibility to have special SIM cards that are provisioned with multi-APN profiles, so they can support in the same time both EMBB and URLLC. But for that, you need some special device that can work simultaneously with two APNs or more. This is the case with this Nokia FastMile receiver from the top list. In terms of the, let's say, problem that you may experience if you come with your own devices in the private 5G standalone network, you may see that you need some special firmwares in order for the device to work with a standalone network. Okay, and finally, the infrastructure availability. So the commercial 5G non-standalone network should be available 24/7 with minimal interruptions. So we are talking here with a commercial grade uptime. And for this, the trials are not limited in duration or traffic. For the private 5G SA network, we can expect the same availability, but we can have interruptions from time to time. In terms of the indoor, let's say, use cases that you may come up with, we should keep them at maximum 1 week, and for the outdoor use cases, they should not be limited in duration nor in traffic. For the edge compute infrastructure, this is also available 24/7, but can suffer again interruptions or performance slowdowns due to multiple users connecting and multiple applications running in the same time. This should be again kept at the maximum 1 week per session for the trials, in order to not block the compute resources for let's say an unlimited amount of time. And here should also, let's say, add another point that the GPU usage should be let's say be limited to in time, because we don't have a lot of GPUs to allocate for these trials. Okay, so I guess that's all for us. Nina, I give the floor.
Thank you, Razvan. Hi, everyone. I'm Nina Slanik-Kiresh, that's from IMEC, and today I will give a brief description of Belgian experimental facilities that are located in Antwerp. The network type is, of course, experimental, because both testbeds that we offer for experimentation, Smart Highway testbed and Open 5G, are based on the experimental license that we received from the regulatory body in Belgium. So the license is for release 16 for 3.81 to 3.86 gigahertz frequency band. The deployment is 5G standalone, and both testbeds are basically based on the open source software solution based on open air interface and 5GS core. And we offer two testing locations, basically where coverage is offered. One is on the Smart Highway, which is in the outdoor environment on the real highway in Antwerp, E313. And the other is in indoor environment, basically in our lab facilities, where we offer some pre-testing of 5G capabilities and use cases before going to the Smart Highway testing phase. Concerning network functionalities, we offer edge computing, which especially makes sense on the Smart Highway testbed, because the edge computing nodes are also distributed along the highway. As you can also see on the right-hand side figure, there is the deployment of these roadside units on the gantries on the highway. And network slicing is available both in the lab and on this environment. And of course, in both cases, service orchestration is possible with Kubernetes and open source or OSM-based software. To give you some hints on what performance you can expect for your use case if you deploy it in such an environment, we achieved so far in our testing campaigns on average 15 milliseconds end-to-end latency or round-trip time, with an average uplink throughput of 40 megabits per second. This, of course, gives you an idea of what figures you can achieve with of course, a bit more flexibility that you can expect in the deployment due to the open source solutions that we use. Concerning the locations, here we show two figures, basically with two. One on top shows the Smart Highway deployment. This is precisely the location where we have the license for operating in that 5G standalone spectrum, and one on the bottom is for the environment, indoor environment in our lab facilities, where actually our office is located, but the licenses are also available for the geographical locations around the office, so that basically the setup can be scaled up if needed together with the applicants. Concerning the equipment, you can also see some pictures notice here on the right-hand side, basically on the top, the white boxes are the roadside units that are installed on the gantries. As I already mentioned, they contain the computing units, antennas, SDRs that provide connectivity on the highway, and then also you can see the test vehicle that we use for testing on the smart highway, with 2 onboard units, one installed on the roof of the car and one inside. More details about these devices are also provided on the next slide. Here, basically for both Smart Highway and Open 5G, we offer computing capabilities that are basically used for different purposes. If you have any kind of application that needs to be running over there, or some machine learning algorithm, the computing should be sufficient on both Open 5G testbed and Smart Highway testbed, with 32 gigabytes of RAM on Smart Highway and 128 on Open 5G, with a bit more storage on the Smart Highway side. Concerning the connectivity, SDR that we offer on the Smart Highway is based on the 10 megahertz to 6 gigahertz frequency range. And the N3010 is the version that we use on the Smart Highway, while on the Open 5G we have 2 variants, B210 and X310. Concerning the processing power of the onboard unit inside the test vehicle, we also have the 8-core CPU with also GPU capabilities and 16 gigabyte of RAM and 32 of storage. On the Open 5G testbed, you can see that, we offer AI-enhanced service orchestration, network and service monitoring, but that also applies to Smart Highway. And the framework for designing network applications is also something we offer as support and help for the applicants as a sort of packaging of their applications and support in the deployment, either in VM or container-based environment. On the next slide, more about the user devices. So the test vehicle that we offer for testing also contains a processing unit, which can be used for running some data collection scripts, or basically the communication to achieve the communication with the roadside units or with the cloud. Apart from 5G connectivity, we also offer 2 different types, ITSG5 and CV2X, that are primarily designed for vehicular communications and experiments in this V2X setup. Apart from the communication modules, we also have GPS based on RTK and LiDAR sensor that can be probably used in different scenarios that you may design, but keeping in mind the capabilities of 100 meter range and also the field of view of 360 degrees horizontal. Concerning Open 5G testbed, to basically offer you with some testing capabilities, we also offer a Nuke device, which is a commodity, basically off-the-shelf unit that we usually use as user equipment in combination with Quectel module. This is what we use in lab testing, basically before testing large scale on the Smart Highway testbed. Concerning the availability on the next slide, we actually use the equipment of both testbeds in TrialsNet very actively in the smart traffic management use case, and also for testing our own zero-touch service management solution that we build in the project. But of course, the capabilities are offered to open call applicants, and with the following frequency. Basically, the vehicle can be used, of course, but to be able to drive the vehicle, there is a special license and insurance needed, which of course can be arranged with us, with the infrastructure owners, which also means that we need to be involved in the testing to support you with that activity if the vehicle is included. Concerning the network testing sessions, that is also something that needs to be arranged, but can be very flexible, and it can be a periodical testing, or it could be some offline testing as well that we can support remotely. Concerning the compute infrastructure, it can be remotely accessible by setting up VPN and necessary credentials for all users. And the good thing, of course, is that it is available 24/7, so you can remotely deploy your applications, services, and then when needed, arrange testing sessions with the vehicle as well. This is all for now. Thank you.
Okay, so hello also from my side. This is Andreas from Wings. If we go to the next slide, please. We will present some aspects about the Athens and Greek site testbed. So the location, of course, is in Greece, and the Wings testbed more specifically is in the offices in Athens. The network type which is available has to do with private as well as the commercial infrastructure that is deployed not only in Athens but in general in Greece. About the network deployments, the 5G NSA is utilized mainly at 3.5 gigahertz with a bandwidth of around 80 to 100 megahertz. And with respect to the private infrastructure that is available in the Wings premises, it has to do with three 5G NSA small cells, which will be gradually upgraded to SA, but it's still this process is still not finalized. About some of the network functionalities, there is some access on cloud as well as mobile edge computing technologies, and also the Wings testbed has the support of some of diagnostic intelligent management as well as orchestration mechanisms. And finally, with respect to some performance measurements, currently we have tried to measure some round-trip time performances, which was around 30 milliseconds in the private infrastructure. So in the next slide, we see the main infrastructure that, as we said, is available also in the Wings premises, which has to do with within the center circle the three small cells as well as various devices, end user devices that can be connected. These are also described later on. And then also some of the Wings cloud infrastructure, which may include as well as some of a small data center, as well as some of the orchestrators and analytics mechanisms that we said earlier. So in the next slide, we see some aspects on these server platforms. As we said, in general, the Wings testbed utilizes some open source software to provide flexible and scalable infrastructure management and resources for various verticals. And this may include, as we see here, OpenStack, Kubernetes, OSM Mono, Kafka brokers, as well as MQTT, can support MQTT messages, or the robotic operating system for some of the robots that are utilized. And in general, these components can support various virtual machines, containers, or serverless execution of code in devices such as Raspberry Pi. And of course, we need to also mention that in terms of protection and privacy presenting mechanisms, we can mention that this is ensured through the privacy, confidentiality, and integrity of data according to the usual GDPR rules that the project and this Greek site as well follows. So with respect to the next slide, we see some of the devices such as a ground vehicle, a rover, a drone which is available, some of the Raspberry Pi devices, some cameras, GPS, sensors, various other sensors, also mobile devices, smart watches, one robot as well, robotic device, as well as some of the 5G modules and mini PCs. So in the next slide, we some aspects about infrastructure availability in general. The Greek site supports aspects like use cases related to transport as well as health as well as culture. About the commercial 5G NSA network, as also in previous cases from colleagues, we've heard that infrastructure is mainly available 24/7 and usually it's not expected to have a limitation in duration or traffic of the experiments from the experimenters. With respect to the private 5G NSA network that we mentioned earlier, this is limited to working hours since the access is needed only from the office. And some SIM cards, around 10, could be available because are needed for the connection to this private 5G network, which is closed, as we understand it. The access from outside or from public SIMs from operators is not possible. And of course, about edge computing availability, this can be also discussed and agreed with owners, depending also on the experiment that experimenters would like to have. So thank you very much also from our side.
Okay, I'm Paolo Giaccone from NIT and Politecnico di Torino. I'm going to present with Hassan Osman of Real Wireless a brief overview of the methodology by which we define the KPI and the KVI and the methodology to assess them. So in TrialsNet, we will evaluate the performance of the network application through the definition of proper KPI that will allow a quantitative analysis of the performance, and this will allow also to define the quality of service requirements for the network. Due to the high emphasis to the use cases, we will also evaluate the quality of experience perceived by each individual users, but not only this, we will also evaluate the impact of the society and the proper definition of key values that will be better discussed later by Hassan. This is a more qualitative analysis, but based on measurable metrics. So please next. Okay, so what we have done so far is to consider all the use cases that were defined in the project, and we define a general taxonomy for all the KPI that provide a coherent naming definition across all of them, and we divide them across different categories like the one that you have there: capacity, latency, and so on. What I want to highlight is that all the use cases in the open call must evaluate the relevant KPIs that are relevant for the specific use case that will be developed. And say that, I leave the floor to Dr. Hassan Osman.
Hi everyone, this is Hassan from Real Wireless. So in the project, we look at the key value and key value indicator analysis. In reality, we have a lot of value. So before we dive into key value and key value indicator, in reality, a lot of value. So for example, on the screen to the right, there are 130 values. These value could be categorized, value related to people, like social value, or environmental value related to the planet, some value related to the technology and progress of the technology, and there are as well some value related to the economy and profit generation. Next slide, please. So thank you. So in the project, we are going to look at we are going to categorize the value and look at mainly three categories: the economical value, environmental value, and societal value. This value will be basically related to the use cases. Next slide, please. So we will follow a framework presented by 6GIA. So first of all, we need to identify the key value related to the use cases. And then what are the key value that are important or significant for a particular use case. We might have more than one value for each use case. Then we need to measure those value, what we call key value indicator. What are the how we could measure those value, whether through through analysis or subjective or objective. So there are different ways how we could measure this value, and most importantly, we would like as well to look at what are the enablers of those value, how those value, what are the contributor, or how those value could happen for those use cases, and this would be related to the technology, to a certain part of the technology. For example, a certain part of 6G features or low latency or reliability or so on. And then we will look at the relation between key value and key KPIs that Paolo talked about previously, and what are the technical impact of those values. Next slide, please. So one important aspect of value is sustainability. So usually when we talk about sustainability, we mean most of the time environmental sustainability. However, sustainability have three categories. Could have three categories: societal sustainability, environmental sustainability, and economical sustainability. So there are three dimensions of sustainability. In this slide, we are just talking about three of them. And these sustainability are deeply interconnected to each other. So, for example, when we talk about economical sustainability, is about the prosper of the society over time and development of the society over time. This could be linked to the economical sustainability and basically the long-term prosperity of the society. So usually, if the society is happy, basically there is good prosperity in the society and a good economical sustainability, and so on. On the environmental sustainability side, if we are not hurting the environment and we care about the natural resource of the design, then of the environment, then we would have a prosperous society. So these aspect of or category of sustainability are quite linked to each other. Next slide, please. Now, if you need more details about the framework that we will be applying and the analysis that we are applying and the link of key value and key value indicator to the business side, there is some more analysis in the report that we published 5 weeks ago, D6.1, and this could be available. This is available on our website. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Hassan, but as well as to all the colleagues that provided their presentation, especially because we really managed to be quite ahead of time, and this is a good point because we will have more time for the questions. So I think that now we can really proceed through the questions. So please follow the instruction provided by Marco at the beginning, maybe to write in the chat the question that would you like to be addressed by our colleagues.
Yeah, first raise your hand. We'll make you presenter so you can ask a question. I already make presenter some people that is willing to ask. So if you need, you can press the raise.
Sorry, I don't know if I can start. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation and information. I've got one question regarding the Italian sites. I didn't see if there are GPUs available on the server in the infrastructure, or if not, if there is a plan to include them, and if not, if it is possible to connect to the network some server from our labs, for example, and use them to perform offloading of some operations such as deep learning and this kind of stuff.
Mauro Agus here. The GPU is not available on the actual platform, and is not planned to install. For the connection of external servers, we considered a couple of options. First of all, to host the server in our premises, but it's kind of tricky because of authorizations and so on. For the connection of external server is obviously possible, but we have to consider the networking. If you expose the server on public network, or you mean to connect via VPN, so we should evaluate in detail the proposal, the technical proposal.
Okay, thank you very much for the explanation. And I don't know if I can ask two questions regarding the proposal submission. Is not related to the
yeah,
sites.
I will prioritize, let's say, the technical question on the sites, and then if we have more room, for sure, we will be happy to address also this one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
So maybe I can continue. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So thanks for answering the GPU question. That was the one I had as well. It's also for Turin site. And the other is that we are considering creating the either application that would have holograms for the Athens site, or create SDK for Torino site, or other way around. So the question would be, what do you think is more feasible, to have dedicated application or to create SDK which would integrate into the application?
Yes, thank you for this question, Mariana. Maybe I can elaborate a little bit on this. We were somehow processing your question that we also received on the help desk, so I can anticipate the answer that we will provide you. Related to the application, the suggestion is to have an independent application that should be installed on the devices, because the integration could be somehow tricky, I would say, with the current application that is developed inside the project. So I think that anyway, at the end, it will not impact at all, let's say, the objective of the trials and the use case implementation. So having an independent application, it's perfectly fine, I would say.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
No problem. And we will answer you officially on the mail, on the help desk today.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
So, Marco, who is next in the...
Yeah, there are some people that now can ask question. So either speak up or through the chat.
Hi, so probably I'll go in now. I've sent a message to them as well. I'm just wondering, do you also help with connecting with the relevant user communities for any proposed solution or a use case, specifically in Madrid and Athens test beds? Hello, am I audible?
Okay, I can try to answer this. Yes. Yes. I was waiting for some feedback from the other colleagues, but I can try to answer this. It's quite generic. Yeah. In general, we are looking at the possibility that the proposal is, how to say, considering also these aspects, in the sense that we can also imagine that you have your, let's say, own collaboration that you can really exploit in the context of the trials. This will be for sure definitely more, I think, more feasible on your side, instead of let's say, relying on something that at the end is really focused on the use cases that you are currently developing in the project. So we are setting up for sure some, let's say, some groups, focus group with users that are anyway built upon the use cases that we are developing inside the project. So I think that the most practical way would be that you consider the possibility to organize by yourself, let's say, this type of user selection, and organize with the location the possibility to host the trials.
Okay, that answers. Thanks very much for answering the question.
There are two questions in the chat.
Yes. So the first one is for the Belgium site, right? So
Yeah.
Yes, concerning the Belgium
Nina,
site.
do you hear us?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
okay.
We can.
I see the question regarding is there a possibility to employ more than one vehicle and sensors like LiDAR? The problem is that we only have one vehicle, but of course we can employ more units that can act as vehicles, like onboard units, for example. There is one extra that we have on the smart highway testbed. So in principle, there could be two users. One with the vehicle that we have and one with the onboard unit that we can basically place on any other car. And the increase in the number of users can be done with more 5G modems that we can deploy, but we have a very limited number of those. So in principle, we can offer one more test user. I hope this answers the
Okay,
first
thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next questions are from Vladislav Dashtu. Sorry if I spell not correctly your name. So the first question is, we are developing smart application for supermarkets. How exactly is the development and outdoor testing going to commence? So as you can see in the proposal template, the applicants are, let's say, open to plan their activity accordingly to the use case they would like to implement. So it's really up to you to consider how to plan properly the activity in a time frame that is around 1 year. So we are expecting to onboard the new partners by May 2024. And the expected effort is from 1 year. So in the proposal, you should depict also, let's say, the roadmap related to the use cases. The second question is, what does private and commercial experimental network mean? So the point is that a commercial network is the one that almost every users having a commercial SIM card installed on their device can connect to. So you can freely choose your provider in terms of network operators. There are not particular constraints on that. Private network are networks that are deployed, such as the one that we saw in the presentation before, in a more strict, I would say, development, in which everything is intended to be somehow experimental, and the access to this private network is usually provided through a specific SIM cards that should be requested to the owners of the private network. We saw that anyway for Madrid, Iași, and also Antwerp sites, there will be the possibility to use this kind of SIM cards. Madrid, yes, at the moment is providing only an experimental network, but that at the same time is quite flexible, I would say. So hope this clarify. We have then a question from Simone Gibellato. Hello, I have also a couple of questions. Sorry, but I have problems with my headphones. Okay, we cannot do nothing about that. So hope you can write in the chat later. So there is a question from Bogdan from the Romanian cluster. So I leave the floor to Razvan.
Okay, so I read the question, but I think that is more of the logistical and administration question. So he basically asked if he can target the option 2 financing if he targets another vertical. So he proposes the public transportation vertical, for which he wants to do crowd monitoring in the public transportation, and for that he says that he needs special equipment for the public transportation vehicles, routers, cameras, and so on. And in this case, should he opt for option 2 or option 1?
Okay. I'm also reading the question. So the point about option 2 is quite simple. So you provide both use cases as well as the underlying infrastructure on which the use cases runs on top. If you would like to rely on the infrastructure provided by TrialsNet, in this case the one in IASI, for example, for the Romanian cluster, you will apply for option 1 for sure.
Okay, so in terms
in
of
general, if you apply as a single applicant, you can earn until yeah.
So in terms of the infrastructure, we are talking only about the network.
Anyway, I would stick more. Yeah, I mean, I think that we try to cover this question. It was somehow, let's say, not exactly technical, but I would prefer to go to the next one. So it's Paolo Di Francesco for the Turin site.
No, the access to the base station, due to the fact that the commercial coverage, so the APN is enabled to the full coverage. So you can select the location, then we can evaluate if the commercial coverage performances are good in that point, in that area, and that's all. So it's possible to use all the network.
Yes, being a commercial network, there are no restrictions related to that. Of course, as Mauro was saying, the performance can be depending on the time as well, on the location, etc. But I would say that also running a use case over the commercial network is a good testing case, because we will really evaluate the current performances of the current deployments, and this will help us to understand where the network should improve its performances. So we have Simone that finally, let's say, opted to write in the chat. So what are the KPI and KVI evaluation that you consider more important to have a good evaluation of the project? This is a tricky question. Of course, KPIs and KVIs will for sure depends on the, let's say, on the use case themselves. So as explained by Paolo and Hassan, we have a set of KPIs and KVIs that we would like to measure and investigate it as well to understand the relationship between them. So there is no particular prioritization between one and the other. So the point is that each use case and each use rated trial should be able to provide measurements from quantitative and qualitative point of view. So there is no prioritization in terms of which ones, but for sure is an objective to have measurement performance during the trial activity. So we have a question from Paolo Di Francesco again for all the 5G sites. So do we have access to the lower level SDN features, drop packets, etc.? Okay, I think this type of, I would say, KPIs measurements could be feasible in the context of the private network solutions. For example, we saw that in Madrid sites, there is the availability of specific probes in the network that will permit really to go at the network level to measure the KPIs. While for all the other use cases, so I'm talking also about the one that we work on the commercial network, KPIs could be definitely measured also at the application level. That, by the way, definitely relates even better with the KVIs that at the end will be related to the application themselves.
Of course, if the drop packet, for example, you can measure a stream, a UDP stream or something like that. In your backend, you can also implement some measurement mechanism to evaluate the application packets that will be dropped.
Yeah, at the end is a question of understanding at which level would you like to collect the metric, of course. We have Andrea Castelli. I'm sorry, but I need to understand the GPU capabilities for every site. In the presentation, this point was not clear. No GPU in the sites. So for what concern the Turin site, there is no GPU provisioning for the, let's say, the server side. I think that according to the presentation in IASI, for sure we will have some, but with some restrictions. And I would say that something in Athens could be possible. Of course, since these are specific requests, I would really suggest the components to go for the feasibility study check. That means you will provide through the form online that is available on our website, really which are the requirements from your use cases, so that we can evaluate if this could be hosted, or if there are some constraints related to the implementation in one of each site. So I know that this answer is not too much detailed, but since let's say everything depends on the use case as well, I would really suggest to go for the feasibility check form. That, by the way, it's the deadline for the feasibility check is set by the 10th of December. For the Turin site, another question here from Paolo Di Francesco.
It's related to the limitation of the traffic. I understand it's for the SIM card. The SIM card traffic. On the public APN, of course, the profile that will be applied is what is in the contract of the SIM card. For the private APN, we leave open. Let's say is possible to use the traffic continuously, but we have to understand also the capacity, the continuous capacity that eventually is required. So there is no limitation, but we have to discuss about the capacity.
Okay, another question from Simone about the KPIs. So Simone is asking if KPIs are not challenged, the project will be not considered. No, this is not true. Every project will be considered. Of course, as much the use case will be challenging, the requirements for the new generation of mobile networks, but I mean, this is not going to be definitely something that will prioritize one proposal with the other.
Also, if the KPI, the requested KPI is too much challenging, maybe it could be also difficult to execute, successfully executed.
So again, we have Paolo Di Francesco. For all the sites, is VPN possible to be tested in order to get remote access or expand without service or infrastructure? Again, I think that this point should be, I mean, it's quite related to the use cases as well to the sites themselves, because anyone has his own characteristics. So I will suggest to go through the feasibility check in order to address the right site so that the right answer can be provided. Simone Ghibellato, finally, some KPIs are more important for some specific trials. Again, no, I think that all the questions are on the same explain. So I will go with the same answer. So we can go to the next one. Shinkai Chu. Hi, regarding the Belgian and Romanian. So Nina is again for you.
Yes, I see the question. It's about the traffic management infrastructure and access to it. Unfortunately, there is no access at the moment to any traffic management on the smart highway testbed. Yeah, so this limits the use case aspect.
Okay, for the Romanian cluster, yes, we can give access to the traffic management infrastructure, the cameras, and so on.
Can I ask a question in the same regard for the traffic management, both in Belgium and Romania?
Sure.
So I'm asking regarding the smart highways. Is it possible to know what is the road number so I can look on the map, or for how long it is the road segment, how many lanes? A more detailed description, is it available somewhere? And also for and how is the camera coverage of that smart highway section, the test bed? And same question goes to Romania. I understand in Romania it's more of urban setting, but is there a way to see a more detailed description of the road network coverage? How many traffic lights, how many intersections, etc.?
Razvan, I can take it up first for Belgian side. So thanks a lot for the question again. Concerning the location, it is E313 highway in Antwerp. So you can basically check the details about this specific highway online. Concerning the smart highway deployment, we have a 4-kilometer long strip. So it's 7 roadside units in total with, let's say, 500-meter distance between them in the deployment. And concerning the lanes, it's 2 lanes per direction. And the details are basically can be found online as well. We have a website with more information, so you can check it out online in IMEC ID Lab Research Group Smart Highway, but also in the TrialsNet description in deliverables as well. If you need any further details, reach out to us via email. Please do not hesitate to do so.
Okay, so for the Romanian cluster, we have the Podoroș intersection from Iași. There we have 6 cameras placed on 2 lighting poles. The area is somehow about, let's say, 0.3 kilometers square. And we also have a YouTube video about the, let's say, coverage and camera placement that we can send to you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Alessandro is speaking again. So following the suggestion from Nina and Razvan as well, we have also an help desk that is active. Basically is an email address at which you can also provide punctual questions, and we will be happy to answer to them. So passing to the next one is Guvra Pratik Sharma about the option 2 is asking if there are some requirements, obligation of the applicants towards the, under option 2. Sorry, no, there are no obligation or initial requirements. The general framework is that each new use case, also the one that relying on a new infrastructure, should fill one of the domains of the project. So should be in line with the objective of the projects, and should be able to provide, in case of option 2, an end-to-end solution in which you can really run trials in order to perform KPIs measurements, as well as ability to involve real users so that you can also collect feedbacks from them. And then we can really apply our KPI versus KVI framework that was illustrated before. And of course, one point would be to consider, let's say, also option 2 in the context of a large-scale trial that can be from a coverage perspective, time plan perspective with data collection, user involvement. So there are several ways that we can use to connotate a trial as large-scale. But these are also information captured in the slides. We have Paolo Di Francesco, sorry, I explained it wrong. Do we have the feature to drop packets via SDN? Okay. I think it's not the case. So the testbed, I mean, each testbed has its own characteristics. In general, I would say that the focus could be also on the application side for sure. Andrea is agreeing to perform the feasibility check. That is good. And then Mariana Kriova again, it is possible to send the architecture proposal for a review before submitting the proposal. Let's connect in the CPU. We already passed the feasibility check. Yes, of course. I mean, you can. I mean, together with the feasibility check, there was the possibility to provide I would say a draft proposal. I think this was not the case, but I think that you already received almost all the information also through the feasibility check. In general, again, the point is that according to the site, you can consider the possibility, as was Mauro saying, but depends on the site for sure, the possibility to have the server, the additional server for the case in which the GPU is not supported to be installed in one of our premises, but this could be tricky in some cases. Or you can also evaluate to have your own server running in your own premises, and it will be a question to set up the proper networking configuration. And I would say that this could be the most, I mean, anyway, it looks like to be the most promising possibility. New infrastructure already 100% in place, or the new proposed infrastructure can be partially built expanded also as part of the proposal? I mean, the point is quite clear in the sense that the objective of the open call is to onboard new use cases that will be able to run, properly run, I would say, and let's say to collect KPIs and KVIs related to the trial activities. So, as I was already saying, there is some kind of roadmap that you can provide in the proposal, and of course you can start from the scratch, but it will be more, I think, tricky for you, or you can start from some infrastructure that's already been partially developed, and I think this is not an issue at all. So the point is that you consider a clear roadmap that at the end will be able to provide results towards the project. Then we have, I see a rise then from Ronnie Dulberg. I don't know if it is a question of, I didn't check if Ronnie wrote a question here.
No,
in
it's
the
okay.
chat
I asked it
anyway,
online. It's okay.
Ah, perfect. Okay. Sorry if I didn't catch the name. So, and that's for option 2B, since we will be considering the use case already defined with this TrialsNet. Is there expected that we propose anything different for the trial execution, or could this be aligned with what has been already defined in use case owner? So, okay, 1B, yes, that's the correct. So 1B, it's foreseeing the possibility to really enhance the current use cases. So the interaction, it's quite tight between the proponents and the partners already deploying the use cases. For this specific case, since I really don't know which is the involved use case, again, I will suggest to go for the feasibility check, describing exactly which is let's say the aim of your proposal, in which terms first of all, which use case is going to address, being a 1B option, and then which are the terms for which you see enhancement of the current use cases. And for sure, we will put in contact with the right partners to provide answers. We have again Simone. Sorry, but I don't understood if I use the infrastructure that is already in the Turing, it can be an option do if I measure KPIs. Yes, KPIs can be measured also at the application level, as we stated before. So basically, you can run an application over the commercial network in which you have an application running on the devices and a backend or a server running elsewhere. And you should have, let's say, the tools on the application itself to perform the KPI measurements. Usually, we have also some additional tools such as UCLA, such as iPerf, that are tools that can be used exactly for this, let's say, for this scope at the application level. Miguel Ferriol Galmes, and then I think that we should address only Paolo afterwards, and then we have to close. For option 2, it is possible to use an already deployed commercial network to develop the project instead of building it. Yes, sure. As reported in the guide for applicants, commercial network are, I would say, at the same level of the private or experimental one. So the proponents for option 2 can provide a use case that is running on a commercial network without any issue. Again, the point related to the previous one is that you need anyway to be able to perform measurements, and this will be for sure performed at the application level. Paolo, administrative question. If we submit two different proposals, I would suggest to contact the help desk for this. I'm sorry for that, but I'm not the proper person to ask this administrative part. So please check also the fax, or otherwise you can go directly to the help desk and ask the question there. Then we have Iago Soto from Quobis. For use case 6 mass casualty incident in Madrid is going to be performed in the basket court closet to immediate premises.
No, it will not.
Aruna, maybe this is for you, or anyway, yeah, I guess Aruna.
No, it will not. It will be performed in the Magariño basket center, probably, with the portable unit.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Miguel Ferriol Galmes, I think that it was already addressed. Yes, here. So I guess we have done. We are quite on time. It was nice really to answer to your question. Hope we answered in the right way. Anyway, if you still have doubts, please do not hesitate to go for a feasibility check. That is our preferred option to provide you, let's say, not binding feedback for sure, but anyway, quite important. The deadline for the feasibility check is set by the 10th of December, exactly because then we will be quite impossible to, let's say, to manage all the requests after that. And then there is still anyway the help desk to which you can submit both administrative and technical questions as well. So with this, I would like to thank you all my colleagues from TrialsNet for their availability and their presentations. And of course, I'm thanking you also, the interested people, to the open call to have joined the webinar. And we are really looking forward to your proposal. And we really hope to collaborate with you. Not all, but the most of you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.